mediums besides paint, such as photography and using three-dimensional objects. And I worked with the artist Jim Peters as a mentor, and he really got me to see that I wasn't just limited to paint as far as medium, and that helped kind of open me up to other things. And it led me to using another slightly obsessive collection of antiques that I have and have been slowly amassing for the last 15 years. I have boxes of them. And that is Plasticville. In the late 40s and 50s, there's a toy company that produced a line called Plasticville. And it's mostly 4 by 8 inch three-dimensional models or replicas of architecture of that time, and in particular, suburban housing and development. They have a great 1950s kitsch appeal and are accurate to little details in reproducing iconic structure of that time. I equally like that it was called Plasticville, which at the time that it was created in the 50s, plastic was a revolutionary material with unlimited potential. So Plasticville was a very proud title. And looking at the collection I had, which at that point had been entirely separate, painting was just something that I liked. So I started to think about them in relation to my art, and I started to see potential correlations between Plasticville and what I was kind of getting at in terms of representing suburbia. The work incorporating these structures against text were interesting exercises to me in order to show another aspect of the Midwestern landscape that was really important to show, which from the 50s through my childhood in the early 80s, but then also until now, of the social context and the social things that were changing as the landscape was changing. And so, thinking about the word plastic itself, it has a lot of meaning in social context now versus when it was created. Then it held as sort of an optimistic future where so much more of society was trusted than it is now, especially in areas of our economy. Now, the idea of plastic has an air of negativity. It implies that something is cheap, disposable, lacking authenticity or soul. I know I don't like to use acrylic paint. I know it's a psychological thing. I like oil, but it's because of it being plastic in nature. So it is something that, for me, I related to. But yet, in our modern life, plastic permeates just about everything that we do and is almost unavoidable. I realize that before leaving the house every morning, the amount of plastic I physically come in contact with is astounding. So it's my pile, and that's just before 8:30 in the morning. So it's sort of unavoidable. And so the parallel that I saw between suburbia and Plasticville was interesting within its cultural negative labeling. No one wants to admit to being part of it, but we really are in some way or another. And so, and also this disposable thinking that exists in our culture more now than ever before, in that we are a very transient society. The average American moves every 5.5 years. And so conservation of the natural landscape is more difficult now because people move more and don't get attached to an area as much, and because they're to be able to protect it. And so it is disposable when you move on. Working as an artist with these simple iconic structures also affected my paintings at this time. And so it made me want to boil things down to a more simplified state, thinking of suburban industrial loneliness. And I'm really interested in the intersection of suburbia and the natural landscape, right where that happens, of the ugly man-made thing up against natural elements and having it be something pleasing that I wanted to look at. On the other hand, I didn't want to paint it in an overly pessimistic way. There was a balance in that. I'm not really interested as a painter in painting what it looked like to stand in a particular physical location. I think it's more interesting to me to represent what it felt like to stand in that place. And another mentor that I had was the painter Eric Aho, who